So actually this 2.39 to 53 we will discuss next topic of this chapter, which is Buddhi Yoga. Okay, Buddhi Yoga means you can say Nishkam Karma Yoga, like that you can say. Fight but without any reaction. Because there are two ways of doing activities. One is you do activity and offer the result to Krishna, and one is first is do activities, do your karma activities, actions for some result. Second thing is you don't expect, you offer the result to Supreme. And third thing is you don't even expect any result, but your activity itself is for Supreme. Okay, so that is Buddhi Yoga section. Once what is the main thing here? That one's consciousness determines the bondage of activity, not the activity itself. It's not the activity which is going to ascertain that one will get bondage or not, but it is the consciousness during the activity. Okay, that's very important. So one will remain free from bondage if his activities are guided by a conception of eternal spiritual self. Okay, basically the concept of soul and super soul, that connection. Okay, so from 2.11 to 2.30 Krishna describes about jnana and knowledge. Knowledge means the difference between soul and matter, spirit and matter, or you can say soul and body, the difference. So that a lot of analysis we did. So that's the jnana section, knowledge section. So the activities of jnana yoga are basically the renounce all activities. Okay, so basically that Sankhya Yoga, which is explained, and activities of Jnana Yoga are, can be said like same. Okay, so means in Sankhya Yoga also different analysis is done, and finally it is the result is that these are the material element, this is the spiritual element. So that difference. Here in Jnana Yoga also difference between matter and spirit. Okay, so whether one want to practice Jnana Yoga or Sankhya Yoga, one must renounce all activities and practice meditation. One should renounce all activities. Okay. However, now Krishna has constantly instructed Arjuna in another way. He has told him to work in a renounced spirit, not to renounce activity itself. Okay. So because Arjuna may say this, you are asking me to renounce all the activities, but at the same time you are asking me to fight also. So what is this confusion? You will ask this question in future chapters. So what is this confusion? So for that Krishna said, no, you work in a renounced spirit. Don't renounce the activity itself. Okay, that's the point. So that is the Niskam Karma Yoga philosophy. Yes, that is Niskam Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. So that is detached work based on knowledge of the soul and relation with Krishna. Okay, so which is explained earlier section, knowledge of the soul and the relationship of soul with super soul or Krishna, and detachment. So from this misery and sukha dukha, misery and happiness. Okay, so that is suggested in the next section, third section, 2.31 to 38. Just now it completed. So that detached from this calculation, what is happiness, what is this, what is gain, what is loss, what is victory, what is defeat, this kind of beyond the above this one has to come. So this principle involves practical application of the knowledge of the constitutional position of the soul. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada takes it to even a higher level of motivation. And what is that motivation? Pleasure of Krishna. Okay, that is Bhakti Yoga. So let us read the verse now. 2.39. Esha te vihita sankhye buddhir yoge pimam shrunu buddhaya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Okay. So Krishna is saying in the previous shloka, he said that without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, this all thing you should fight, you should come above this and you should fight, and in this way you will not have any sin, you will not incur any sin. And then next shloka he said that in this way, thus, for I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explained it in terms of working without fruitive results. Okay. So presently I have explained you in a Sankhya way, analytical. Sankhya Yoga means analytical study. And now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pratha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Okay. So now I am going to explain you. Krishna is saying that now I am going to explain you this knowledge in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pratha, O Partha, O Arjuna, when you will work in this way, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Okay. Purport. According to Nirukti or the Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes things in detail, and Sankhya refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. So this is like when you have some word, difficult word, so in English people refer Oxford dictionary or like that. So in Sanskrit they have this called Nirukti, that's a dictionary. So Prabhupada is bringing the meaning of Sankhya and Sankhya. So Sankhya means that which describes things in detail, and Sankhya means that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. Okay, that soul is not matter, soul is completely beyond matter, soul is spirit. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relative and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers, the sons of Dhritarashtra. So what is Arjuna's proposal? That he don't want to fight for sense gratification. Okay? Because this is Arjuna is considering his sense gratification. I will kill them and I will get the kingdom and I will enjoy. So based on this sense gratification, I don't want to fight. This is his idea. But he is forgetting his prime duty. What is that? His prime. Sorry. Okay. So Arjuna's prime duty is to fight. But he is forgetting his prime duty and he wants to stop the fight or not to begin the fight. Why? Because he is thinking that if he will not fight, then his relatives and family members will be alive and then he will be more happier than the kingdom. all this. If he kills them and defeats them, then he will get kingdom. So that will be some happiness. But that happiness is lesser compared to the happiness when his relatives and kinsmen are there. Okay. So that is his idea. Now, in both the ways, the basic principles were for sense gratification. This is the beauty here of purport of Srila Prabhupada. He brings that, otherwise we cannot figure out this thing. If Prabhupada is not giving this analysis, we cannot understand what this verse is saying about. Okay, because if it this much only said that Arjun don't want to fight because of his own, he's saying, I don't want any kingdom and all, no sense gratification. I want my relatives and family members. So by killing them, how can I enjoy this? But ultimately, if you are thinking about that, also is sense gratification only, na? That's the point. Okay, in both the ways, the basic principles were for sense gratification. He is not thinking on the spiritual plane, he is thinking on material platform. Happiness derived from conquering them and happiness derived by seeing kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification, even at a sacrifice of wisdom and duty. So both are based on sense gratification principle, and for that he is sacrificing his wisdom and his duty. Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper. And he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individuals in the future, because all of us are individual souls eternally. Sanatana. Mame vamso jeev loke jeev bhuta sanatana. So we are eternally individual souls. In past we were there, in present we are individually present, and in future also we will exist. The body may not exist. Definitely it will be perished. It will be finished. Okay, so body has to. So that's why when the body is no more useful, soul leaves the body and takes another body. So you don't. Krishna is trying to bring this higher level of concept, which is based on the spirit, which is based on the soul. Prabhupada is saying that we simply change our bodily dress in different manners, but actually we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress. Okay, and even after liberation, the individuality remains. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna. And this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya in terms of the Nirukti dictionary. Okay, so this analytical study of the matter and spirit from different angles, this is called Sankhya. This Sankhya has nothing to do with the Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapil. Long before, the impostor Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, the incarnation of Lord Krishna, who explained it to his mother Devati. So originally the Sankhya Yoga was explained by Lord Kapila, who is the incarnation of Krishna and who is the son of Devati. So he explained the original Sankhya Yoga to Mother Devati. Yes, but later on there was another Kapila who was atheist. He did not believe in God. He was a atheist person, and he gave another Sankhya philosophy. So that Sankhya philosophy is wrong, and we do not recommend that. We follow the Sankhya philosophy which is spoken by Lord Kapila himself, and that is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto last section. Okay. It is clearly explained by him, by Lord Kapila, that the Purusha or the Supreme Lord is active and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. That Supreme Lord is active and He creates by looking over the Prakriti. Means Lord Krishna only is controlling the Prakriti, and Prakriti does anything or everything but under the control of Krishna. Okay, this is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature, and Lord glanced over Prakriti or Mother Nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. Millions of or innumerable atomic souls were injected, or you can say like that. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense gratification, and under the spell of material energy they are thinking of being enjoyers. So this mentality is, so they all are in the material world now and they are working under this influence of material energy. Oh, okay, for sense gratification. So under this influence or this spell of Maya, they are thinking that they are enjoyers. Achha, this thing has to be understood, that how we are thinking that we are enjoyers. Okay, because everything in the world which we look it for our enjoyment, isn't it? We think it should be for my enjoyment, isn't it? Like any food, any house, anything, you see, one's first idea is how I can enjoy this item, this property, this food, this drink, whatever. That's the called enjoying mentality. If we will go deep in our consciousness and think very, very honestly, purely, then we will find that actually everything we look with this perspective only, that how I can enjoy. That's the point. But for that we have to get more from sadhus, more chanting, lot of things we have to do, sadhana. Then we will be that much honest and we will be able to see inside thing, going within, searching and finding and identifying defects in others is very easy job. But going within and finding defect is very in ourselves. That's, generally in the education world, like research papers and all they publish, right? So they give it for review to others, or any book somebody writes, they give it for review. Many things, and nowadays review system is there. They will give it their thing for review to others, because they can. It is always said that take review from others, because everybody has a wonderful quality to find defects in others' work, but no one has this quality to find defects in themselves. So when they do some job, some research paper, suppose somebody have designed, written, he cannot find his own defect, so he has to give it for review. So others will tell, okay, this is the defect here. Yeah. So, and he will give to him. He can find defect in his, he will find in his. Like that, they cannot find defect in themselves. That's very difficult thing. So if somebody is able to see his own defect, his own mistakes, that means that person is elevated. And because he himself is able to see his own mistakes, he will correct it. And first step is seeing our own mistakes. Second step is knowing that how to correct it, solution, and what is the process to correct these mistakes. Third thing is, knowing is okay, but some people will know only, they will not act on it. Third step is to act on that solution. And fourth step is that if you are not able to act, which is very tough, generally alone you cannot do. So next step is taking guidance from a person who is already, some time back he was there in the same mistake or in the same problem, and now he has overtaken, he has come out of that. Or a person who has never was in this, but he is beyond this and he knows. Next step is, when we take guidance from that person, next step is again same, following that guidance, acting on that guidance. So in this way, and that next step is, when we feel that now I am elevated, now I am able to overcome these mistakes to some extent, that means this person's guidance is working. So being grateful to that person. So that's the process. So I was telling that this we have to understand that yes, I have, see, just reading will not work. Hearing, enjoying mentality. What is it? So go within. I see everything of enjoyment for myself. Everything, every person I look at, meet, any person I meet, I feel, how can he give me, how the idea is. We changed